They say you're living good. Pretty lawns with fancy landscapes. She stares ahead with a blank gaze in her lovely neighborhood where the living is good.
And welcome back to Reverse Your Thinking. It's my pleasure this week to introduce you to Ann Ridelfs, MD. She is a retired psychiatrist whose passionate speeches and books challenge our medical model's focus on the physical. She shares a holistic perspective that appreciates the whole of us, body and soul, and respects the innate love and intelligence in both. An avid vegetable and herb gardener, this gardener of the soul aspires to challenge the way healthcare is practiced in our world. Her unique counseling methods help clients to absorb the soul nutrition in their medical issues, their relationship challenges, and all of their lives' difficulties. Ann, thanks so much for being with us this afternoon.
Oh, I'm honored to be here.
Well, thank you. Glad to have you. Maybe the best place to start is if you can give us a little bit of background on you, like where you grew up, where you went to school, what attracted you to psychiatry, how you got into this whole gardener of the soul thing. Give us some background on you, on Ann Ridelfs.
Well, I grew up in Western Pennsylvania, and being a doctor was in me somehow, and it just kind of flowed very naturally. And it was when I got to medical school that I started hearing people's souls tell me why they were sick. For example, this one young man who was dying, and his mom gripped his arm and said, "I never could let go of you, could I?" And in that moment, I realized he was dying to get away from a controlling mother. And I thought, people only knew what symptoms were communicating, we would have many more choices. So this ability to hear the soul's grown in me as time's gone on. And that's why I never quite fit into the medical model, because I just heard this deeper layer that most people weren't paying attention to.
I see. Okay. So did you grow up in a medical family?
No, I didn't. My dad was an engineer. My brothers are engineers. I'm a housewife and realtor.
Well, there would be a lot of people that might make a comparison between engineers and doctors in some ways. So perhaps that was in the wiring.
Interesting. I hadn't thought of that.
When you talk about hearing the soul, that almost reminds me of a thing back to a movie where they talked about the horse whisperer. All right. Are you the soul whisperer? Is that what you're alluding to?
It's very much like that. I hear people's words or their actions just amplified, as if this is
okay. And how does that translate in relation to health?
As far as someone will be talking to me about their doctor said, and I can tell from, like, I have a blocked coronary artery, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Coronary artery, something in their emotional heart is blocked. Some flow of feeling is blocked. And investigate what that might be.
I see. In your 2017 book, Illness Can Be the Cure, one of the things you said was, we all need to work on ourselves. Our employment in the outside world is only part of what we're here to do. The other part is working on the inner world, the realm of our psychology. These two realms exert great influence on each other, steering one another in subtle and not so subtle ways. We're unaware of the extent of this steering when our focus is mainly outward. Our soul and spirit are trying to redirect our attention and adjust our steering as they use the vehicle of our ailing bodies to relay their perspectives. Can you explain that paragraph to us in the terms that you're talking about?
Well, a story comes to mind.
Please.
Then I met once who had serious allergies, all sorts of food allergies, dairy, wheat, peanuts, on and on. And going on for years, and it was really controlling her life. I didn't know if I'd ever see her again. So I was very assertive with her. What is going on? I was asking her soul. And so
Right.
she had a memory of being with her dad as an adolescent. And she was screaming at him and he was screaming at her. And she just hated her dad in that moment.
Uh-huh.
She hate her dad. So she hated all the foods on the table in front of her and never could eat them again until conversation like that. It was over. Her allergies were over. She got the message. She went into therapy to deal about her dad issues.
Right.
It can be that quick when people get the message and respond.
Okay.
Layers and layers and layers of things that build
Okay.
a lifetime. So it takes time. But that's the potential when we get the message.
So it sounds to me that what you're saying is that many of the physical ailments that people suffer from are merely external manifestations of thoughts or feelings that they're having.
That is my experience. Always has a psychological pain component. Even if there's a absolutely unmistakable cause, falling off a roof, there's still, where are you falling in life? There's a deeper layer to,
Okay.
and when we work on both physical and psychological, healing is so much quicker.
Gotcha. This sounds in some ways to be very what I would think of as quote unquote Eastern medicine. Is it that, or is this actually a part of Western medicine that we just don't hear a lot about?
Other people have written books about it. It is coming to the surface. And to me, this is human development. We develop individually, we develop in our relationships, we develop as a society. And is getting to that deeper layer, as you so obviously know from your podcast information. There's a problem in this country. There are many. And we are being motivated to get to that deeper layer.
I see. Okay. How does one begin to address that? I mean, and I'll tell you what I mean. If I took 10 random people off the street and I stood them up against the wall and I asked them, who creates the way you feel? Do your thoughts create the way you feel, or do the external activating events in your life create the way you feel? I happen to believe that at least 7 out of 10 of those people are going to say to me that they believe that the external activating events in their lives create the way they feel, and they have no control over those feelings. All right. Only 3 are going to say, yeah, I'm responsible for the way I feel. Would you agree with that, generally speaking?
Well, what you're saying is we are stuck at a young stage of development as a society of 7 people think it's out there, meaning here we are. You can look at babies, they're out here. They don't have it. So when we're stuck in young stages in our soul or psychological development, we're out here.
Yes.
And a lot of development to more and more realize, wow, I've got a part in this. I have a choice.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's what we do in American culture is we try to stifle children's emotions. And as a result, they go somewhere, right? They either get put in the physical body, which leads to illness. Statistic for you. It's like 85 to 90%, some doctors say, of chronic illness starts with inflammation. The word means, right? We're stuffing.
Yes.
Are not allowed their emotions at the time, their normal reactions. They at some point when they're triggered. So that stuffing in or lashing out, we want to give children their normal emotions and teach them how to deliver them constructively in a way that moves one another.
No, I completely follow what you're saying. Digressing for a moment, I think it's important our audience understands you're not a psychologist, right? You're a psychiatrist. All right. That means for those of you listening that Anne has an MD, she's a medical doctor, and she has a PhD in psychiatry. No?
MD is someone who has specialized. I've specialized in psychiatry. I did 2 years of pediatric residency And that
Okay.
is on development, and then 3 years of a psychiatry residency.
Gotcha. Okay. But you have both. In other words, you've studied both the physical in terms of medicine, and you've studied the psychological in terms of, I'll call it mental illness or the way the brain works on the body. Okay. All right. So where does this leave us in terms of solving health issues, medical crises, both countrywide and internally, individually for ourselves? As an example, is obesity a physical problem, or is that physical manifestation a psychological problem that needs to be addressed?
Well, I like to look at the whole, meaning there's
Sure.
there's emotional component, there's a mental component, and often there can be spiritual components as well. So
Okay.
the whole picture. And again, our society, because we're pushing aside the soul, the psychological, we're just looking at the physical, we're trying to make it one thing. And that
Mm-hmm.
be permanent, meaning we can get the symptoms to go away, but something else returns or the same symptoms to say the problem isn't resolved. And so
Okay.
get to that deeper level, physical as well as emotional and mental and spiritual. And I would
So-
go to the hospital for there to be someone who represents that deeper level. So we're not just treating people physically.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So if I'm hearing you correctly, it's your belief that in many cases, physical ailments are an outward manifestation of something else.
Mhm.
Okay. How do we know? How do we know which ones are actually physical ailments and which ones are psychological issues that are manifesting that way?
Well, I would look at the physical first in an emergency, especially. And
Right.
the time to, okay, now that I'm stable, let's look at the emotional and just be sensing into. I help people just sense into their body part what
Uh-huh.
it be expressing. Like, for example, the kidneys are filtering, they're a filtering organ. How am I filtering my life? How am I
Mhm.
out what's necessary and hopefully getting rid of toxic things, toxic people, toxic situations?
Mhm.
Some metaphor. In my experience, in every single physical problem, there is also a psychological communication.
Hmm. Well, many people believe that when symptoms manifest in the physical body, then this is where the problem lies. And I think most people, at least in our culture, relate that way. If something hurts, they go to the doctor and they don't say, "I don't think I'm thinking well." They say, "This part of my body hurts, treat it." And we have a society that does that with an enormous amount of medication and surgery in many different cases. Obviously, if you've got a gunshot wound, I mean, you're not going to be dealing with that psychologically. To start, you're going to be taking care of that problem. But if somebody has a skin condition or somebody itches all the time or things that are more annoying and chronic, okay, what would you think the first three steps would be to discover whether or not this is something that's personally psychological that needs to be addressed or just a physical problem?
My first step would be to close your eyes, sense into that body part, as in a skin condition. Skin is the superficial appearance, it's the covering. How am I negotiating life? Am I being fooled by appearances?
Mm-hmm.
Being manipulated by some covering and not getting to the deeper layer? How is the skin sick, the appearance sick in
Uh-huh.
a particular way of going about life? That kind of thing. That's what comes to mind in regard to the skin. So sensing into whatever the body organ is, spending time with it like you would a hurting friend, and
Mm-hmm.
let me hear you.
Okay. Do you think that body symptoms are a problem that we have to eliminate if we are to heal?
No, I think they're a voice that is communicating, and we need to hear it and respond. And so that's one of the myths of medicine. when we get rid of something, it's gone. When I get the image of putting duct tape over a child's mouth who's screaming, I'm unhappy. Sure, but the kid's still unhappy. So let's listen to him. What's he unhappy about?
It's not uncommon in raising children that to one degree or another, parents will directly or indirectly say something to the effect of, do as I say, not as I do, or we want you to be seen but not heard. And therefore the child is suppressing what they want to say. But by the same token, the parent is harried and hassled and dealing with day-to-day life. How do you recommend we create that balance between giving a child access to their own feelings and yet teaching them how to behave?
It's important to, at first, really hear the child at that deep level. Oh, the whole child. Is there something physically wrong? And the toxins in our world now, that needs investigation. Is there anything emotionally going on? The parent has to be in touch with their own body and soul, because we're stuffed full of our own stuff. We're not open to really sensing, oh, they're just reacting to this, which parents so quickly do when there's a deeper something going on.
So it sounds like we're delving into the physician heal thyself area. Let's take a quick break. All right. When we come back, we'll go further into that. Our guest this afternoon, Ann Redelfs, and we'll be right back after this. And we're back on Reverse Your Thinking. Before the break, we started getting into feast or foul, by which I mean, is it the physician that needs to have this awareness to guide the patient, or is the patient supposed to find this understanding between mind and body on their own?
Great question. I find that we are devolving as a people. And as a result, we're getting more and more specialized in that I'm really good at this one thing. And so, like in healthcare, we'll need a lot of different people that are really good at their one thing. Rather than in the old days, there would be the one doctor who was in touch with all that they are. They were in community together and knew what was going on. So it's a problem. This separating out, to me, it represents the separating out inside the soul, because we've pushed aside so many parts of ourselves. We are divided. And so our nation is divided. It's reflecting that division in here. Healthcare providers need to work on themselves, need to pick up the pieces of themselves. And when they do that, they'll be more capable of seeing how fragmented the patient is and how their illnesses are trying to stop that fragmentation, pull the pieces together. So many highs and lows, like your blood chemistry is too high in this and too low in that. About the imbalance in our psychology, too much of this, too little of that. We need to listen to that deeper layer, first inside ourselves, so we can do it adequately outside ourselves.
There's an expression that seems to me to have application here with regard to, I don't know who I'm quoting, but they said that to know yourself is the highest form of aggression. And it seems to me that in some ways, what you're talking about is a very aggressive position for a person to take in regard to themselves, all right, to delve into all of those primal issues that maybe were suppressed and are now bubbling to the surface in the form of physical problems. Am I getting you in this regard?
Interesting, your choice of words. A story actually came to mind of.
Please.
A woman named Jo once told me that her son insisted that she buy him a ticket to go to a concert with his friends, go to the concert, drive home. And she sensed into herself and said, no, it doesn't feel right. The son was outraged. He
Livid.
begged for weeks. And she said, doesn't feel right. Still doesn't feel right. He didn't go, and they were in a horrible car accident. The kids were hospitalized for months. And I bring this up because when we have access to our souls, we get the information. So you were brought up the word aggression. To me, the more we have access to all that we are, we can minimize the aggression in our world, more prophylactically deal with things so they don't build. All this building in our country, in our world, is because we're not listening. And if every one of us just daily said, all right, what can I do?
Mm-hmm.
All of that. Oh my goodness, how different things could be.
Let's take this into the realm of cell phones and texting and emails and such. And what I mean is human beings today, and when I mean today, I mean literally in the last 5-10 years, are bombarded with more information than they ever have been before. It's not just that we have access to information, but it's coming at us. It's coming at us from third-party sources. Some people have said that this sort of crosses the wires and makes it impossible for human beings to become heart-centered anymore and to really feel themselves, because you get lost in the noise. All right. Do you feel in order to become more centered on one's soul that you need to block that out and somehow listen to yourself?
Well, this is where the kidney functioning is coming in. We need filters, right? This is important information. We're open to it. We block. We need that ability. And when we're young, we don't have it. We're either all take it all in or try to block it all. Rather,
right.
Discernment, that's maturation. And that's what we need to be teaching in our schools. Skills that help children mature in all that they are, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And when I was in medical school, I remember them saying, this is a 55-year-old white male who's recovering from a heart attack. And I was thinking, well, what about the emotional age? What about the mental age? Why aren't we paying attention to that?
That's interesting that you put it that way. In the last 6 months, I've heard about this new thing that is being talked about where people have a physical age. Let's say they have an age of 70, but then they say, but he has I forget what the term is, an age of 27. All right. Is that what you're referring to? That, one is just the wrapper, so to speak, but it's a question of the mindset, the soul, the psychology of the way somebody thinks or looks or feels?
I think we should be looking at every single aspect of person in our schools and giving them a schemata so we know where they're being neglected or abused. They're not going to be there. Then we can discern what's going on at home. We can help out. But if we're really physically focused and they look normal, or academically focused, they have their A's, we're not getting to the deeper problems.
Let's talk about the soul and the spirituality of this for a second. All right. I mean, I understand the psychological, got that. Okay. There's still a physical component up here. All right. And the physical, obviously, that's the wrapper. But spiritual, soul, these things start delving into religion, religious dogma to one degree or another. How do you integrate that into your thinking, into your philosophy?
Well, I see the soul as the psychological body. I see it as a medical term. The soul lives in the physical body.
Okay.
So heart, mind. But the psychological body or soul is the bridge to the spiritual. And that's why I feel these forces of evil that are in our world are trying to get us away from it, knowing it's the bridge to the spiritual. They will have less control if we are connected to the spiritual.
Okay, I want to talk to you about that, about forces and spiritual and control. All right, let's take a quick break. You're listening to Reverse Your Thinking, and we'll be right back after this. And welcome back to Reverse Your Thinking. My guest this afternoon is Dr. Ann Redelfs. She's also a psychiatrist and deals predominantly with the mind, body, spirit experience of physical ailments. All right. Where do they begin? Are they in your brain or are they in your body? Is the physical problems that you're having merely the outward manifestation of suppressed feelings or poor thinking? I don't know, but that's what we're here to talk with her about today. When we talk about spirituality, or when you talk about spirituality, can you give us an idea of what you mean by that? Are we talking here about religion, or are you talking about something on a higher plane? And if so, what is that?
I talk about it in terms of human development because that's what I know. That's my fascination.
Okay.
To me, the spiritual is just ultimate evolution of mankind. We ultimately realize we're part of a greater body, a spiritual body. And God, by definition, is everywhere, omnipresent. Therefore, we are a part of him. We cannot be otherwise.
Okay. In terms of physical ailments, does it make a difference if you see your spirituality through the wrapper of Judaism or Catholicism or Buddhism or Islam?
Again, it's human development shows up in some of the choices we make. For example, if we take on a religion and make it violent, we've got some unresolved trauma there. So to me, it's not the religion, but where people are in their development with the religion. And in the youngest people stuck in very young stages that have a lot of unresolved trauma can make any religion horrific. Again, holding in reactions, what happens, or we react and take it out on the wrong people. So
Gotcha.
It's more a developmental problem than a religion problem.
Okay. You've written a number of books, correct? Okay. Where can people find those books?
They're on my website, annredelfs.com.
Okay. Is there any other place they can be purchased?
Amazon.
Amazon. Okay. And you're currently working on a new book, if I'm not mistaken.
I am. I'm really excited about this one because it is about the psychology of the COVID crisis, the corona crisis.
Okay.
No one that I have heard has gone into the depth of what really went on, why we as a world did this. I want to explain. And I hear in all these podcasts, why would people do that? Well, let me tell you why. When we know psychology, we know why. And again, it's human development trying to get our world to prioritize that deeper layer of the soul and healing within every one of us and helping one another heal as well.
Can you give us some insights into what you write about in your book at this time?
Yes. We have leaders stuck at very young stages of development, and they are doing what all children at that stage of development do. For some reason, when people of very young ages psychologically are in adult bodies, we think they're adults. And we wonder why are they acting that way? Well, if you look at child psychology, you can see very clearly that someone of that psychological age acts exactly like that. And so it's helping people to see, again, beneath the cover, beneath the appearance, and in that we can do something about it. Bring our leaders for where they are in their emotional and mental development before they get into their offices of leadership. That's how we'll change our world.
I see. Okay. Are there tests that exist where you can find out what somebody's psychological age is, or what their physical age is at a given time?
Psychological age, I don't know about that. That is a good question. I'm putting together my own schemata in that regard.
Okay.
It's not done in a way that I feel can really be tangible, hands-on, not just for the professionals. We need it in everyone's hands so they can just start dealing with their own family members of, oh gosh, looks like my husband's a 2-year-old, or gosh, my teacher that I've been looking up to and paying so much money to is really stuck in infancy.
One thing that many people believe is that if most people are, at least nominally functional, they go through their day, they take care of things, and they don't really need to do inner work, or as somebody might say, ain't nobody got time for that. Okay. That's for people who are dysfunctional. Okay. Okay. But as people go through their day to day and they go to their jobs and they take care of their kids and all the rest of this, they're quote unquote functioning. All right. Now they may not be happy. So I guess my question to you is happiness an indicator of whether or not there's something going on inside?
No, I would say not, because people can be indoctrinated that you're happy. You look at your life, you're married, and they're not in tune enough with the real feelings. They
Okay.
decide it's in the unconscious mind, and that unhappiness is expressing itself physically. So we need a certain amount of development to know how much of ourselves we've included in our lives, and have we included our actual genuine thoughts and feelings. Most people have not. Think of a preschooler. They're always very busy with their toys. And
Right.
so
Right.
a lot of us are stuck at that age. We're so busy in our things that we're not really handling that deeper layer that we and our family members need to evolve to be all that we're here to be.
Gotcha. You still practice, correct?
I do counseling now.
You do counseling now. Okay. So if somebody in our audience wants to get a hold of you, they're listening to this and they're thinking to themselves, I'd like to find out if I need to do some inner work. What would be the best way to get in touch with you?
You can contact me through my website, again, annredelfs.com, or my email, gardenerofthesoul@icloud.com.
Great. And Redelfs is Redelfs. Yes?
That's it.
Okay, great. And thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. I have no doubt that there's somebody in our audience that's all of a sudden re-questioning whether or not that ache in their shoulder is a childhood trauma in their brain.
And talk to your bodies and souls.
There you go. And thank you for joining us again this week. As always, if you're on your way home, please be safe. And when you get there, give your family a big hug. And we'll see you again right here next week on Reverse Your Thinking.
Where the living is good.